Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes, and many others are poisoning the minds of people and young people all over the world with lies and slander, and they're just adding fuel to the fire of hatred toward Israel and the Jewish people. There is absolutely no doubt that AI is setting the stage for global control.
Elon Musk is the grandson of Joshua Haldeman, one of the bigwigs of the technocracy movement that produced the Technate map. Imagine at the same time they purposely allow a couple dirty nukes to really freak people out. Imagine, it's called shock and awe. And they said, when all that happens at the same time, people will be crying out for, guess what? Somebody fix it. Ones who are supporting Israel, dare I say, speaking up for Israel, we're going to be out of here.
That's right.
And who's going to be left?
Welcome to Tipping Point. I'm Jimmy Evans. Today I have one of our most popular guests joining me to talk about his powerful new book and documentary about President Trump and how he is making end-time prophecy come true right now. Pastor Billy Crone will be joining me in just a minute, but before I introduce him, I want to tell you about a special project we have going on right now that you can be a part of. My associate here at Tipping Point, John Anderson, and I have written a new book called Haman's Lies. The subtitle is Exposing the Ancient Roots of Anti-Semitism and Why the Spirit of Esther Must Rise. I've written over 60 books, and this is the most important book I've ever written. John and I wrote this book because of the explosion of anti-Semitism going on right now, even among believers. That's the sad part. It's truly shocking. Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes, and many others are poisoning the minds of people and young people all over the world with lies and slander, and they're just adding fuel to the fire of hatred toward Israel and the Jewish people. John and I have written this book to expose the truth, historical truth, and biblical truth about the nation of Israel and the Jewish people, to equip believers to stand against the lies being told and to be able to respond to those lies with documented facts that are irrefutable. Haman's Lies is a book that will show you where and how anti-Semitism was born, how it always tells the same lies about the Jewish people that always ends in persecution and death. In the book, we expose in detail the 25 most common lies that are being told about Israel and the Jews, and the irrefutable historical and biblical truth every believer needs to know. Now, the book releases on March 31st, but you can go to Amazon.com right now and pre-order a copy for yourself or maybe for a loved one or someone you know who's being influenced by anti-Semitism. It's rampant. We need to be educated and stand up for Israel and the Jewish people. But besides ordering a copy for yourself, I want you to help us send a free signed copy of this book, Haman's Lies, to President Trump, Vice President Vance, President Trump's entire cabinet, every U.S. senator, every congressman and congresswoman, including the squad, every Supreme Court justice, all 50 state governors, as well as key national influencers and in media and business across America, and 1,000 pastors and spiritual leaders. It costs us $15 a book to send those out. That includes shipping and handling, and that is our cost. Will you please go to endtimes.com/donate and give your most generous gift today? With your gift of any amount right now, we will send you a free electronic copy of Haman's Lies as our thank you. When you give, you're helping us to continue the ministry of Tipping Point as we preach the gospel and broadcast end-time teaching around the world every day. And you're helping us send a free signed copy of Haman's Lies to the top leaders of America. Go to endtimes.com/donate to help us send a free signed copy to the leaders of America who need to know the truth. And as our thank you, we're going to send you a free electronic copy of the book. I'm excited about this project and believe that, like Queen Esther, God has called us to stand up for the Jewish people for such a time as this. Please stand with us. Right now, I want to welcome one of our most popular guests, Pastor Billy Crone. Billy is the senior pastor of Sunrise Bible Church in Las Vegas, Nevada, and he is also the founder of Get a Life Media. Billy has written many best-selling books and produced many powerful documentaries about the end times. He's joining me today to talk about his newest book and documentary, Trump and the Paradox Prophecies. Billy, thank you for joining me today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jimmy.
It is always great to have you here. You're just, a scholar and a researcher, and you just take information that I've never even thought about before and just, go into detail on it. And you have written this book, Trump and the Paradox Prophecies, which is also a documentary available on DVD or stream.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
GetALifeMedia.com.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's where it's at.
And so we're going to talk in detail about this book. This is a 2-part program now. We're going to talk about, there's 3 major parts to your book. We're going to talk about the first one here. Next week, we're going to go into the other 2 parts of the book. But you're talking about Trump and the Paradox Prophecies. What do you mean by that?
Well, it's specifically titled that. First of all, it's the sequel to our previous documentary that we had talked about, Trump and the Stargate Prophecies. And that was the fact that just because Trump got in a second term, that doesn't mean that prophecy has stopped. And many of his decisions, including from day one, has to deal with Bible prophecy-related issues. And the challenge is, though, in the Christian community, some Christians, unfortunately, have taken his second term as an excuse to, well, we can relax and take a break and vacation. I'm sure you've heard that, experienced that. It's like, well, no, prophecy didn't stop just because he got in. And so that first one we dealt with, the first day in office, he launched the AI Stargate program. And not to rehash that, we've already talked about that, but it basically, Revelation 13, how in the world do you get to micromanage the planet, as the scripture says the Antichrist and the false prophet will do, monitor every transaction, buying and selling, the big brother society, given a global order, knowing where you're at. If you don't obey, how do you know if they obey? It's big brother, and then your GPS location. If you don't obey, you get taken out. You can't hire enough humans for that. And this is a global well, it's AI.
Right.
So Trump's decision to launch that, whether he realized it or not, helped ratchet up that AI development globally.
Okay, and we're not being critical of President Trump in the sense that there's something wrong with him. This is the world we're living in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But there is absolutely no doubt that AI is setting the stage for global control.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I say it all the time. I'm not saying I don't know the man personally. I'm not saying that he wakes up every day and, yep, I'm doing this for the Antichrist. Of course not, right? I'm just saying it's happening. And since when did it become illegal for us as Christians to talk about Bible prophecy-related issues?
Absolutely.
Because it's marching according to God's timescale. But hence the second one, or sequel, the paradox. And again, it kind of dovetails off of that discussion that this is the paradox. Trump is doing some good things. His support for Israel, the economy, at least in most states, the gas prices are going down. I just got back from California. That went over like a lead balloon. But anyway, but the interest rates, hey, I'll give credit where credit's due, right? Let's be honest. Okay. And just because I said something positive about Trump, that doesn't mean that I drunk the Kool-Aid or I voted for the Antichrist. That's the other side of the camp.
Right.
It's like, come on, man, be balanced as a Christian. But yet the paradox is, he's doing some good things, but paradoxically, he's doing some things, whether he realizes or not, are lining up with Bible prophecy. And again, on the one hand, Jimmy, it shouldn't be a surprise. Because again, prophecy didn't stop just because Trump got into office.
Yeah, policy-wise, I love him. I think he's great. However, you're talking about the AI, and I've had other guests on the program talking about quantum AI and just AI in general. They're building all over America and the world massive data centers.
Yeah.
And these things are about to go online. And when they go online, the amount of information they can process is staggering. And on one of the previous programs, you were talking about the surveillance state.
Oh, yeah.
And the Antichrist in real time will be able to control everyone on the planet, what you do, where you go, how buying or selling, all of that for the first time in world history.
Right. Yeah, and AI is the missing piece of the puzzle because, again, practically look at the big pictures. Globally, it's a global micromanagement of anything and everything you do. Well, you can't hire enough people. You're going to hire 1 billion people to stare behind computer screens to monitor everybody on the planet. That's not practical.
Right.
We've had the equipment, we've had the technology, but here's the point. The infrastructure is not there. You need something superhuman. That's AI.
It's supernatural.
Yeah.
Yeah, when 2 Thessalonians 2 says that Satan comes with all power, signs, and lying wonders, the word power there means supernatural power. AI is supernatural.
Well, and think about it, too. He comes with lying signs and wonders. Satan's not God. The Antichrist is not God. He proclaims to be God.
Yeah.
But they're not. But they appear to have godlike powers. But it's counterfeits through technology.
Right.
right? He appears to have omnipresence, knowing everything because he's got a big brother system, but it's not like God's, right? But that's what he does. He counterfeits that as well. Just real quick, you mentioned supernatural. I kid you not, I got a video clip of folks that are developing AI in Silicon Valley. And in the interview, it's a secular interview, the guy freely admits, they asked the question, hey, where do you get your inspiration to further the development of AI? And you know what he said?
What?
He said, I come in the office every morning, and the first thing I do is I meditate.
There you go.
And dude, I got it on tape. And he says,
and you came out of the new age.
Yes,
So
my ears are going, woo, okay, I know where this is headed. I kid you not. Then he says, and then after I meditate for a while, all of a sudden I hear voices. Listen, he says, and they tell me they're from the future. And they're telling me they're to help mankind to speed up the process of AI. And then he says this, and he says, then all of a sudden it's like a download in my brain. And he says, then I come out of my meditative state, and that's what I work on for the day to advance AI.
Wow. Okay, so we're going to talk about the 10-nation confederacy that President Trump is helping to put together. Before we get into that, what is your take on what's happening in Iran right now? Because the bombings continue, Israel and the United States. They've certainly weakened Iran to a massive degree. Yeah. How do you see this fitting into Bible prophecy?
Wow. At least two different sources. Now, number one, you mentioned the 10-horn kingdom, and I'll just quote that. And this is an event that takes place in the 7-year tribulation. But we talked about the global community, the Antichrist. Well, they're going to section up the planet, and God called it out 2,000 years ago. Verse 3, he says, then the angel carried me, chapter 17, carried me away in the spirit into the desert. There I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast that was covered with blasphemous names and had 7 heads and 10 horns. You don't have to wonder what he's talking about. Keep reading. The Bible defines it for you. Verse 12, he says this, the 10 horns you saw are 10 kings who have not yet received a kingdom, but who for 1 hour will receive authority as kings along with the beast. They have one purpose. They'll give their power and authority over to the beast. So at one point, we're going to go from, God said, we're going to go from 200-ish independent countries to 10 combined regions.
Right.
Those regions will be ruled by 10 guys, which means we don't get to vote on them. And then when that gets established, they're going to hand it all over to the Antichrist.
Right.
So the question is, do we see any signs of that happening? Yes. In fact, this has been going on for a long time. And I stumbled across this 10-horn kingdom trail back when I did 4 documentaries on the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab during the Biden administration. And in 1971, Klaus Schwab started the World Economic Forum. The Great Reset, of course, is basically their new term for we're taking over the planet under the guise of climate change and all this stuff, and we're going to bring peace and utopia. But most people get that now with the term Great Reset,
right.
Fourth Industrial Revolution, that's what it was. What they don't realize is the same plan, the 2030 Agenda, Agenda 2030, whatever you want to call it, the same plan has already outlined a restructuring of the planet into, guess what, 10 regions. He launched the World Economic Forum in 1971. Right thereafter, I have it on tape, he admitted that he's the one who gave the Club of Rome their start. And the Club of Rome is an economic group think tank, and they're the one that produced a map. And that map of the world that they're going to split the world up into for management purposes.
We're going to put that on the screen.
Exactly. And it's their map. It's not Photoshop. This is on file. It's called the Club of Rome map, and it's been in existence since the early 70s. And as you could see, it's not 5, it's not 122, it's not 19. It's exactly 10. 10 regions. God called it out there. But Klaus Schwab, who wants to take over the planet, the Great Reset, most people don't realize the same plan, the same agenda splits the planet up into 10 regions. Now, a couple other screenshots you could take a look at the European Union website, and I screenshotted this so you can realize it, but you can clearly see they don't just have the world shaded up. They have it shaded up in regions, and again, go figure it's what? It's 10 different regions. And then the smoking gun, I screenshotted this one too. It's from the UN, and the UN talks about an event that happened in 2008. We didn't get to vote on this. It clearly says about global democracy that they're launching, which is a one world government.
Right.
And it clearly says there, as you can see, that it'll be with a group of 10 persons in 10 regions.
And this in your book.
You can't miss it. It's like, whoa, it's like somebody's following the script. Now, here's my point. You go back to, okay, what does this got to do with Iran? What's going on? I think it has everything to do with Iran once you look at their map. Because that map wasn't just produced in the early 70s, but they have slowly but surely been working at doing the unthinkable. Nations giving up their sovereignty, combining into these regions, so you end up with basically 10. The first one, of course, was 1993. That was the European Union. That was the shot across the bow. And we both lived through that, and I remember that, and that was big news for a long time. And then they came out with their own currency. Whoa, it's just, man, the unthinkable, the euro, all that stuff. Hey, that's old hat. We don't even think about it anymore. But see, people think that it kind of died out there. No, it didn't. You look at that map, and pun intended, it's the roadmap to where the globalists are headed. And then, of course, the big map is, well, and God told you it was going to happen.
That's exactly
in the last days.
In the book of Daniel says it.
Exactly. And but that became the model for the rest of the ones. And we go in a deep dive with all the different nations that are already well underway with that, not just the European Union. But one of them, Iran, talk about hot off the press. Number 7, if you look at their map, it's shaded purple. Number 7 on the map is called the Middle East Union. And it's the upper Muslim nations from Africa, North Africa, from the west going all the way east. It's like a band, and that's their map. And again, mind you, this was early 70s. And you're like, well, the Muslim nations are never going to go along with giving up their national sovereignty. Yeah, they will, because one, God predicted it.
Yeah.
Number 2, these guys are taking over the planet. And plus the reason why they want them is because, as we know, who's got the most energy and oil and biggest producers, some of the largest supplies on the planet. Well, they're not going anywhere. The globalists need them for their, utopia. And so, but here's the point. That's been in the works for quite some time. In fact, the Middle Eastern Congress has already said we're looking forward to a Middle East, where we can be all together as Muslim countries and we can be a part of the global community. And that's from their own Congress website. But if you look to the far right of that band going east, according to the map, it ends with, go figure, the nation of Iran.
Wow.
It's on the map. I'm telling you, Pastor Jimmy, you see the map. I'm not a prophet nor the son thereof, but you can start predicting where they're going next, right?
Wow.
Because they're swallowing up unions, and they admitted it's going to end up with 10, just like God said. But you look at Iran, and that's what's going on right now, because the unthinkable has to happen. According to that map, Iran has to fall, and they have to be combined into this union. It's happening right now.
Okay, so let me make a couple of things. So a lot of people get confused because the Daniel 9 tells us very specifically that the Antichrist comes out of a revived Roman Empire, which would be the EU, it'd be parts of the Middle East, Northern Africa.
Right.
Okay. So that's the Antichrist. Some people, though, look at this 10-nation confederacy as being the EU. It has to be in that same geographic region as the Antichrist comes out of. And that's why in the European Union, at one point they had 10 nations. It was like, oh my gosh, and then they had 11. It's like, well.
Right.
So the Bible never says that these 10 kingdoms will be in Europe.
Correct.
Right?
Exactly.
The map that we keep showing is a map that this is in play right now. The distribution of regions. There's a North American region, okay, Canada, Mexico, and the United States, okay, and then South America, all these different regions. So the 10 kings would just simply be taking the world and breaking it down into 10 regions and having a representative from each one, and then they give their power over the Antichrist.
Well, and that's the key. When people say, well, bottom line, what's going to happen once they get it established? God says, then they're going to give it over to the Antichrist.
What about the three that he uproots 3 of the kings? Yeah. Does he overthrow 3 of the kings, or? Well,
part of it is that's the overarching plan, and with the 10 regions, you even look at in the 7-year tribulation, the Antichrist, he gets global control for a moment.
Right. He's
going to get, handed over to him, but then in the back half of the 7-year tribulation, quote, the wheels start falling off,
right?
Because it's so there, and there's going to be people that turn against him, don't follow, and some of these things geopolitically, if you look at it, they're playing nice now. I'll give you an easy one. And this is my theory. I'm not saying thus saith the Lord. China is playing nice because China is number 10. China is number 10 on the Club of Rome map, and China was sped up drastically after the 70s. It really started with Nixon, but Clinton was really the one that helped China ascend astronomically, technology, finance, because they were to be a part of the global kingdom. So they had to be sped up because they were way behind.
Oh, sure.
Right. And so, but here's my point. You're like, China, why would China work with the World Economic Forum and all that stuff? Well, I think it's kind of everybody's got their own agenda, right? I think we'll play nice now. And I think in the back of their heads, when the right time comes, we're not loyal to you. We'll do it now because you're helping us to advance. Because China has their own desire to, frankly, take over the planet as well, and things that nature.
Sure they do.
You're right. So my point is, but we also know at one point they're going to rebel against the system. They may go along for a while, but they're going to rebel, right? And so even if it's ends up that the Antichrist is going to have to overthrow something you're talking about and things of that nature, that's not a surprise, right? He only has control for a brief period, and then the wheels start falling off.
So the 10 nation, or the 10 geographic regions were the 10 kings. How does the United Nations line up with that?
Well, United Nations for a long time, I actually filmed one of our documentaries there. You don't really get what they're about until you go on the inside. And on the inside, they don't hide it. You could see some of the symbolism on the outside with their statues and things of that nature. But on the inside, whew, if you ever get a chance to go in there, go freak yourself out. They are very blunt, very new agey, and it's demonic. Very much we're going to rule the world, one world government, one world religion, by the way. Super big on that one, things of that nature. And speaking of new age, and I always saw this on the internet, but I didn't, I thought, is that really true? And well, I got to go find out. They don't have a prayer room. They have a meditation room.
There you go.
Right. And so sure enough, I went in there, and we were able to film, very quickly. And there's like this, it's the creepiest thing. There's this altar, inside there. And there, of course, there's no cross and stuff of that nature, but it's just a freaky thing. So, but that tells you they're operating under a different spirit. But the Nations, however they end up existing, for long term, this is no conspiracy. They're all about helping push the agenda, the global agenda, a one world government and a one world religion for purposes of control. In fact, I kid you not, we actually had this on tape. They wouldn't let us videotape, but we were able to record because I was able to ask one of the ladies there, and they're taking us around to all the rooms that they meet in around the world. You see the classic pictures when President Trump gives a speech where we were in that room. And I said, so just tell me, why does the United Nations exist? What's the purpose of that? And I kid you not, I knew where she's going because I say it on their website. And she said the right words. She said, well, we're here for peace and security.
There you go.
Peace and security. I says, well, how are you going to do that? About all that stuff. And then I'm going, oh, shades of Thessalonians. When they cry out peace, and it's some translations say security or safety. It's the word means the same thing. So peace and safety, peace and security, which is the big buzzword now of the UN. Sudden destruction falls upon them. But the UN's all part of that. They're all in on it. Whether they're going to be there at the end when all this gets into place, we don't know. We just had I'm not saying that it's necessarily for nefarious reasons, but we just had a new entity being launched with the Trump's peace group and things of that nature. That's kind of coming out of left blue. So I'm not saying he set it up to set up for the Antichrist. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying maybe the UN ultimately gets diverted, and it's going to be another entity that gets hijacked that gets the job
talk about
done.
what President Trump is doing to promote this 10 region.
Oh, well, let me, I'll get to that in 1 second, but let me dovetail the other prophecy that I see that we could very well be seeing with Iran. This is very important. And let me clarify this too. Am I against Israel defending itself? Of course not. Am I against us as a country, United States, taking care of a country who on tape has not only said death to Israel, but death to America, and who's responsible for terror attacks on our own soil and around the world, the biggest troublemakers, not just for Israel, but they're the little Satan, and this is on tape. Am I against that? Of course not. I'm just saying there's some prophecy side effects to all this. We just mentioned the 10 horn kingdom. I think, I'm not saying thus saith the Lord, could it be, Pastor Jimmy, that we're also seeing the setting the stage for Ezekiel 38 and 39?
And tell me how that's happening, because I'm fascinated by the war that's happening right now and the decimation and maybe a regime change that's going to happen there and how that affects Ezekiel 38, 39.
Yes, exactly. Because the ones that would scoff at you and I that take Bible prophecy literally, this is the ones that, this is one of the passages in Ezekiel 38 that they bring up and said, see, you can't take prophecy literally because this will never happen. And I quote, and this is Ezekiel 38, and it says there in verse 10, this is what the sovereign Lord says, on that day, thoughts will come into your mind and you will devise an evil scheme. You will say, I will invade a land of unwalled villages. And the context is clearly Israel, Jerusalem, right? But they're unwalled villages. I will attack a peaceful and unsuspecting people, all of them living, he says it again, without walls and without gates and bars. And this is what they bring up. Have you ever been to Israel? You been to Jerusalem? These people are never at peace. They're constantly at war, and they are. And you go over, there's walls over there's security this, security that. And they go, see, you can't take this literally, right? Because this will never happen. Well, guess what? Here's where I'm going with this. Could it be with Iran being taken down, which is what? The biggest sponsor for what?
Terrorism.
Terrorism, not around the world, but especially with Israel, supporting and arming and equipping even the other nations that are even closer. Exactly. And then Gaza, if it gets turned into what's being pitched as the new paradise of the Middle East, right? The Riviera, the new Riviera, then Pastor Jimmy, we could be seeing for the first time, wait a second, Israel could have a time of peace.
Yeah.
Where they would feel like, you know what? Finally, we got rid of those agitators. And again, they have a right to defend themselves. And we don't need all these walls anymore. And we're now living in peace and safety. That's the precursor to what happens. And when that happens, and then here comes the unthinkable. Russia is going to come down, activate those Muslim nations, and they're going to go against Israel. And the Bible says it's a slaughter fest.
Do you believe that Gog and Magog happens around the rapture, or is it more into the tribulation?
I hold to my position. And I know it's a secondary issue. Some people have different views. But me personally, I hold to it that it happens after the rapture.
After the rapture.
For a couple of different reasons. Number one, you see what starts the 7-year tribulation, Daniel 9:27, right, that he makes a covenant with the people of Israel. Some would say peace treaty. I agree with that, especially because the 7-year tribulation, Daniel 9:27 is a parallel passage to Revelation 6, which is what starts the sealed judgments. Starts with the white horse rider, peace, right? So all kind of fits together. But that means if he's going to do a peace, then something's going to have to enter in to take that peace away. And I would say the Gog and Magog war. But I would say after the rapture because, number one, it says they burn their weapons for 7 years. Just happens to be the exact length of the 7-year tribulation. Also, I would say, my personal opinion, I don't put the Gog and Magog war before the rapture because you would destroy imminency.
Right.
Because then we wouldn't be looking for Jesus Christ, the rapture, the blessed hope. We'd be looking for Ezekiel 38 has to happen first, then the rapture. Well, then it's not imminent anymore, is it?
Right.
So I just think it naturally fits there. But here's my point. So, but once that happens, then what? So imagine all at the same time, Christians disappear. Shortly after that, Gog and Magog war, World War III in the Middle East, for reals. Right.
And Billy, let's say the rapture changes everything.
Yeah.
There are 2 billion people who identify as Christians out of 8 billion in the world today. Let's just say half that number is true. Mm-hmm. And many in Iran.
Yeah.
You know, obviously the United States, it changes the United States in a massive way. When the rapture occurs, the world changes overnight.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. And then, but imagine, I'm not saying thus saith the Lord, but I've come out of the occult and New Age. They believe that Lucifer's a good guy. I also did a whole nother study that we never really talked about. If you ever want to freak yourself out, Freemasonry. I did a deep dive on Freemasonry recently. I did a book and documentary on that. But they also, in the upper echelons, they believe that Satan's a good guy. But anyway, so the point is, according to the occult and even Freemasonry, they are saying that it's going to be a setup to produce the Antichrist, and which they think is a good thing, and that Christians are the one who are holding up the harmony of the earth, which is the restraining influence, 2 Thessalonians 2. But they say they're going to stage it purposely with multiple events at the same time, that it will be a global shock and awe event that people won't even realize they're being duped to receive this guy who they think is a good guy. And for instance, and this is just a scenario that they promote, that not only will you going to see the disappearance, and this is from the occult, they are expecting the disappearance of millions of people. And they said they will, quote, this is their direct quote, they will elect to leave as if just entering another room. We're just going to disappear. Where'd they go?
Right.
Where'd they go? But imagine the disappearance of millions of people all across the planet. Imagine at the same time, Pastor Jimmy, boom, Ezekiel 38, right? Capitalizes on that, goes in World War III. Imagine at the same time a true global crash of the economy. Right. Imagine you do have terror cells go off all around the world in major cities. Imagine, this is from them. Imagine at the same time they purposely allow a couple dirty nukes to really freak people out. Imagine, it's called shock and awe. And they said when all that happens at the same time, people will be crying out for, guess what? Somebody
Savior.
Fix it. And they admit that's the stage they're going to set.
And who's saying that?
This is coming from Freemasonry, from New Age, and from the occult. Yeah.
But when you were in the occult and you heard spirit guides tell you that.
Yeah, Pastor Jim, I'll tell you what, I was formerly demon possessed. Unfortunately, I was involved in Satanism, New Age, the occult, and things of that nature. And the funny thing, not funny, it was horrible. But looking back, when I would get into altered states of consciousness and communicate with these spirits, was demons, you can never convince me at that point. Of course not. But guess who would pop in?
Who?
Aliens.
E.
And you know what? The aliens that are supposedly, which by the way, looking back, it was like, why didn't I recognize that? That was like, duh. You're supposed to be this technologically advanced race, but you can't call me on my phone. You can't even send me an email. The only way I can get in communication with you is to become a medium and you take over my vocal cords and inhabit me, which they call a walk-in. But anyway, so they are preparing people not only for the Antichrist, and they tell people that who's left behind, because they say, don't be surprised perhaps in one afternoon that millions of people disappear from the planet. They were not of a spiritual vibration or frequency to be able to handle the coming earth changes. Mother Earth needs to cleanse herself, but you left behind are a chosen one. And you're going to enter into the age of utopia, the new age, the age of Aquarius, all this stuff. So I just found it odd that, it's clearly a demonic practice, but you won't call them demons or aliens. They're saying the same thing. But the reason why there's such similarity with Freemasonry, New Age, Satanism, the whole alien thing, is because they're coming from the same root.
You bet.
Right, is with that. So, but anyways, but I see what's going on is a setup with the possible peace with Iran right now to set this next stage that you need to have happen for Ezekiel 38.
And the separation of the 10 regions doesn't have to happen for the rapture to happen, right?
No.
It could happen afterwards.
Well, exactly, right. But we know at some point in the 7-year tribulation, why do we know it's in the 7-year tribulation? Because they handed their power over to the Antichrist.
Yeah, well, it's clear.
Right.
Daniel talks about it. Revelation talks about it. It's just something that's so clear in the scriptures, in what President Trump is doing right now, is promoting that.
Yes. Well, real quick, let me get into that. I was down in Australia about 6 months ago, finishing up the research for this. And while I was down there, I came across the news broadcast. Of course, we share it. And you talk about, well, what's Trump got to do with the 10-horn kingdom? Well, there's the global tariffs. And I'm not saying he's doing this on purpose of course not. I'm just saying it's happening. But they admit they've already been working for decades on these global unions. But they're saying now with these global tariffs, everybody is in scramble mode. Hurry up and seal the deal, dot the I's, cross the T's for economic safety and security to be able to handle the tariffs that are coming their way.
Wow.
So that's actually put it into what I call turbo mode to get the job finalized. The other thing too is the one that most people have a hard time realizing, if you look back at that Club of Rome map, it's number 1. Number one is the proposed North American Union. And that's a combination of Canada, U.S., and Mexico. And frankly, for us Americans, we're going like, well, that'll never happen. Well, we go down history, and I bring out the research. Unfortunately, we've had traitors in high places in our own country for a long time. And we go back as far as Bush Jr. He's the one that really started pushing that with the SPP. Used to be a lot of news on it, especially here in Texas, Trans-Texas Corridor, right? NAFTA Superhighway.
Right.
He was a globalist. But he really started, it's called the Security Prosperity Partnership. Well, it didn't stop with him. It continued on with Obama. Shocker, it continued on with Biden as well. They just changed the name to a Three Amigos Summit, or the North American Leaders Summit. But it was all about combining United States, Canada, and Mexico. They pitched that we would also have our own currency like the European Union. Ours was pitched to be called not the euro, but the Amero. That's not a joke. I got it on video. Herbert Grubel, who's the father of that. And he said it's just going to take the right crisis to come along.
There you go.
And people will put it into play. And we're going like, well, okay, well, it stopped with Trump. Unfortunately, it didn't. And we do this in great detail. Again, is he getting up, waking up every day? I'm making these decisions to create the number one on the Club of Rome map, the Tin Horn Union. Of course not. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying what's happening is at the end of the day is going to create that number one North American region. The only thing that's different,
And possibly after the rapture.
yeah, exactly. And the only thing that's different is I'm convinced he's following for that region, the North American region. He's following a different map, and it's called the Technate map. And I came across this in the Cornell University library. So it's not AI, it's not Photoshop, it's legit. And it goes back to what was called the technocracy movement. And the technocracy movement happened in the, really got started in the 20s and 30s after World War I, then followed that up with the Great Depression. And so the movement said the governments and the politicians around the world have proven that they can't bring peace to the planet. So it's up to the scientific elites, the technology experts. We're going to bring in utopia. And so they produced a new map for North America called the Technate map. And what's wild is if you look at that map, Pastor Jimmy, every single country on that map is in play right now to be under the headship of America. And so if you look at that map, you'll see that it's not just Canada, again, like the Club of Rome map, U.S. and Mexico. By the way, Canada, Alberta is in talks with merging with the U.S. That is not over. I just talked to somebody from Canada who visited our church services 2 days ago. And they said, oh, no, they're got the boats, and there's possibly going to be on the docket this fall to succeed from Canada, Alberta. And they're saying if Alberta goes, Saskatchewan goes. If those two go, Canada's over because that's your breadbasket, that's your energy, that's your money. So, and then, of course, Trump said that, he flirted with you. Hey, to be our 51st state. So it's like, oh, well, that's kind of weird. Not only that, Greenland's on the map. Yeah. And you're like, why is it so hot to trot with Greenland? Well, that's on the map too.
Is that a part of the North America?
That's the Technate map, right? But the only difference with the Technate map is it's U.S., Canada, and Mexico, and Greenland, but it goes a little further south, including Panama, which is another thing we immediately got control back of. But it ends, guess what? At the northern tip of South America, including, guess where? Venezuela. It also includes the Caribbeans, which includes Cuba.
Wow.
You think going on with Cuba right now?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Good.
And Mexico, they're getting, never in Mexico. Mexico, again, cartels, things are blowing up. Could America intervene? Very well so. Again, I'm not saying he's waking up every day saying, yep, I'm doing this to create a new North American Union for the Club of Rome or for the Antichrist. I'm not saying that. Do we have a right as a country to get rid of the drug cartels that are destroying people's lives and murdering people? Absolutely. Do we have a right to defend our country from Iran or from Russia and China invading around us with Venezuela and even Cuba and stuff? Absolutely. Right? We need to as a country. I'm not against that. I'm just saying there's another big layer going on. It's called Bible prophecy. And one way or another, God predicted the unthinkable, Pastor Jimmy. Whether it's the Club of Rome map or this new Technate map, America as we know it is going to get swallowed up into one of these 10.
Yeah.
It's the unthinkable. And I'll give you one last smoking gun. Technate Matt, technocracy movement. Talk about science fiction. Trace the trail. This is over-the-counter technology and research. One of the big leaders of the technocracy movement, I'll just end with this. His name was Joshua Haldeman. And Joshua Haldeman was one of the bigwigs of the technocracy movement. Clearly, in fact, we even have a picture with him, and you could see the Technate map behind him, and a new America, but he eventually, he lived in Canada, and he eventually moved to South America, or South Africa. And in 1971, they gave birth to a daughter. They named her May. May ends up having a son, and she named him Elon. Elon Musk is the grandson of Joshua Haldeman, one of the bigwigs of the technocracy movement that produced the Technate map.
Wow.
That's wild.
That is wild. Well, he's a massive, of the technology people, he's number one.
Oh, yeah.
By far.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I just think, Billy, when I look at the world, John Anderson, I wrote this book, Haman's Lies, I talked about earlier. The anti-Semitism is off the charts.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at the geopolitical complexion of the world today, it's just all heading so quickly. And once the rapture happens, it can happen much quicker.
Well, the restraining influence is gone. The ones who are supporting Israel, dare I say, speaking up for Israel,
right.
We're going to be out of here.
That's right.
And who's going to be left?
And the people defending Israel.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's the open door for Russia, Persia, Iran, and Turkey, and all of Trump and the Paradox Prophecies. And this is a book. It's also a documentary, a DVD, or a download. And getalifemedia.com.
Yes.
Is where they can get this. Billy, that's fascinating information. Thank you so much for joining us today. Billy's a frequent guest here, and I want you to go to getalifemedia.com, get this book, get the DVD or the online download where you can watch this documentary. This is powerful information. This is stuff that we need to know. Sometimes these things are kind of hard to hear, but it's the truth. It's what, as Billy documents in his book and documentary, this is what's going on. This is just the truth. And so what we want to do here at Tipping Point Ministries is to help you to prepare for the times that we're living in, to equip you with the truth for the times we're living in, and to prepare for the times of Jesus, for the return of Jesus, for the rapture, which I believe is absolutely imminent with everything that's happening in the world right now. Let me remind you again of the special project we have. My associate, John Anderson, and I have written this book, Haman's Lies. I'm very proud of this book for the sake of Israel and the Jewish people. John has done a tremendous amount of research, and we have gone into history, into the Bible, to show you how to respond to every lie, the truth, the truth. Every one of the lies that are being spoken about Israel, they're lies because they're not truth. Well, what is the truth? It's right here. We go through in detail the 25 most common lies that you're going to hear. Your children are hearing these. Your neighbors and friends are hearing these. Sometimes you're hearing them at church or from Christian people. And we go into detail about the 25 most common lies and how you can respond. At the back of the book, we have just a quick summary guide where you can just go through very quickly and see what the answer is to all 25 of those. So it doesn't take you a long time, but you can go into detail and read it, but you also have a summary at the back. So when you're hearing lies about Israel, you can respond to that. It's going to cost us $15 a book to send these to President Trump, Vice President Vance, the cabinet, every U.S. senator, every congressman, congresswoman, the Supreme Court, all 50 governors, and key influencers in media and business across America, and 1,000 pastors. This is a huge project. It's going to cost us $15. That's our cost. That includes shipping and handling. That's our cost. Would you go right now to endtimes.com/donate and give your most generous gift? Help us. We're going on the offensive. We're not just going to stand back and wait for people to come and buy the book. We're going on the offensive, and even if they don't read it, it'll get into their office, and maybe somebody there will read it. That'll influence somebody else. But we're going to send these out, the squad. Everybody in the squad is going to get one of these books right here. And we're praying, literally, we're praying that God will use this as a weapon to come against the anti-Semitism in the world, but also to equip our key leaders with the truth so that they can respond to all the lies that are coming around about Israel and Jewish people. $15, endtimes.com/donate. And when you give to us, we're going to send you a link to an electronic copy for free of Haman's Lies. Now, you can pre-order this book, the hardback or the paperback, on Amazon.com. It comes out March 31st. But when you give, we'll send you an electronic copy right away of Haman's Lies. We'll send you a link to an electronic copy of this book. I've written over 60 books. This is my best book that I've ever written with John Anderson. I believe this is going to make a difference, and that's why we're sending it out to all these key leaders and 1,000 pastors and spiritual leaders. We're very, very excited about this. I want to thank you for joining me today for Tipping Point. Join us next time. God bless you.